Hey everyone, so today's video is gonna be a little bit different because I'm a little bit burnt out with Welcome to Bloxburg, so I decided to just make a video talking about how I changed while doing YouTube and what changed in my life. So yeah, let's start and let's have some fun and talk a little bit. So my first point is I used to be scared to speak up in that sense that when there was conflict or when I disagreed with something, I would never tell someone that I disagree with them. I would just nod my head, say yes, and be like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's just, I guess it's their opinion, but now if I'm really not into what they are thinking, I'm gonna speak up, I'm gonna say my opinion, not in an aggressive way. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I don't agree with you, you have to agree with me. No, that's not how I deal with stuff, but I'm more like, this is my point of view, and if you don't agree with that, that's okay. But I'm probably not going to change my opinion on it. For example, when it comes to political stuff, I'm quite strong on that in real life, so I tend to say my opinion more, and I'm not really afraid of what other people think of me anymore. That brings me to my next point. I used to always try and get ready, quote unquote, to go out of the house. I used to always like match my clothes and stuff like that, try to wear the nicest clothes, even though they weren't always as comfortable. And I'm like, I don't really care what I look like. I don't really care what I wear. If I am happy with it and if I'm comfortable in it, then I'm just going to wear it, even though if it's basic or whatever. But yeah, I still like to wear my skinny jeans from time to time. I know a lot of people hate skinny jeans, but well, it's not really skinny jeans, it's slim fit. I'm not really afraid anymore that people will say something about how I look or how I should feel or whatever. That's something that really faded while doing YouTube because I get so many comments of how I should act, how I should speak, how my accent should be, and I'm like, at this point, I've read so many of those comments that I don't care anymore. It doesn't normalize it, but it just makes me not care about it anymore. It just makes me want to be me and not be anybody else, because those people are gonna have comments no matter what you do. If I completely changed my accent, they would have comments about that. So at this point, I'm just like, body positivity, you know? But definitely, it definitely changed something in me where I don't really care anymore what other people think of me. Then the next point I like to touch on is that I used to think I was alone in a lot of things. For example, I saw everyone wake up at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. I wake up at 11 a.m. because I can't fall asleep early, and I get my high creativity peak at like 1 to 3 a.m. And that's when most people sleep already. So I'm usually the most active between, I don't know, 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. And that's where I get my creativity burst as well. So that's when I'm the most active during the day, and I thought I was alone in that because everyone thought I was just lazy, and I just went with the idea that yes, I was lazy and I didn't want to do things, and I just woke up late and went to bed late and stuff like that because everyone around me woke up early, and if you don't wake up early, they are easy to call you lazy. But I discovered by doing YouTube that there's actually a lot of people that get creative at nighttime, and that made me feel less alone. And I do have that with a lot of things. I also, with the mood swings, I thought I was one of the only people who had mood swings because no one ever talks about those. But frankly, everyone has mood swings, and it's just basic human stuff that no one talks about that I learned and made me not feel as alone as I used to feel when I was a teen. Now, one negative point I do have from YouTube is that I'm more capable of having anxiety, if that makes sense. I'm not having anxiety attacks, which I'm happy about, but I definitely do have anxiety, like, what if I can't upload? What if everybody stops viewing me? What if I don't make any money anymore? How will I be able to survive? What if I suddenly run out of ideas? What if my computer crashes? What if my YouTube gets hacked? Stuff like that. What if I did something on my taxes, even though I have an accountant, but that's definitely something that pops up a lot in my head. Like, what if I did something on my taxes and I have to like give everything I ever earned to the government and just live in poverty for the rest of my life? Something like that. Like, I don't know why, but I get scared about these things, and I think it's important to speak up about them because no one ever does. But it's definitely like some things that I'm scared about. Just like basic stuff that you shouldn't be scared about and probably won't have an effect on your life, but still you think about them. Especially when I'm trying to sleep, they come into my head and I'm like, just, it's okay to think that way, but try to sleep. I guess. And then something else I have noticed when doing YouTube is that I'm a very open person online, but in real life I catch myself being closed quite a lot. I tend to be an open book like on Discord and just on my YouTube channel and stuff like that because that feels so personal to me. But then when I have to talk in real life, I'm super shy. I tend to fade in the background, especially in big groups. I'm not a talker in big groups. I definitely don't feel comfortable sharing experiences in big groups, even though I'm talking right here to an audience on YouTube. But I'm alone in my room, so that makes it different for me, I guess. This is really turning into a podcast, isn't it? Now, what I do like about YouTube, but sometimes it's a scary thing as well, is that it changes, but it changes quickly. I don't like to stick to the same thing forever. I started out with small speed builds, then I went on to the tiny town, tiny neighborhood things. I did a series on Hard Knock Live. Then speed builds started to die out, so I did more voiceovers. I tried to get better at those, which I hope I succeeded in. Now I'm just trying to find something new because I feel like we need something new in the community. And this is like my transition period of where I just talk about things in my life. I think it's quite fun to talk about that as well. But yeah, I don't know what's next and we'll see about that. But it definitely taught me not to hold on to the stuff that you are so used to and that's so basic for you. Because if you're gonna stick to, for example, if you're gonna stick to speed builds only, especially me not being that good at doing speed builds, you're just gonna die out. So you need to constantly reinvent yourself. You need to be creative. You are forced to be creative. And that's kind of something I like. Also, what I learned is that like when I was in high school or college, I always like calculated how many points I would get if I skipped that homework because I was so not into doing homework. I couldn't motivate myself to work at home. And now I have to work at home. So I'm definitely having to set dates for myself as to on this day I will do my voiceovers, on this day I will edit, and I have to stick to that. Otherwise, I do not get into that swing of things. I'm really good at procrastinating, but once I'm in the mood to edit or something like that, I tend to edit a lot of videos or a lot of videos, 2 or 3 videos at once, because then I'm in the mood and I don't want to get out of that mood. So I definitely have to motivate myself to do it, but once I'm doing it, I'm like stuck to it and I don't want to do anything else. So it's definitely something you have to learn to work at home and work by yourself and motivate yourself, especially when you're on your computer with all of your games on it. It's really easy to get distracted or start chatting or whatever. So yeah, I definitely need to be careful where I spend my time, and I definitely need to plan it out. Otherwise, I just won't have any videos. And then something that really changed for me from the beginning of when I had my channel to now is back then I also didn't want to share opinions. I wanted to be as private as possible. I'm still pretty private when it comes to my own life and what I do in my own life, but I do share opinions, and that's something I wanted to keep to myself because I was like, what if they're gonna unsubscribe? But now I'm like, they're allowed to unsubscribe, and if they don't agree with you, then whatever, you know? So I'm not gonna unsubscribe to another YouTuber because I don't necessarily agree with a certain idea they have. So if some people unsubscribe from you, it's because they weren't following you for you in the first place, if that makes sense. So that's definitely something that I learned as well. Just speak up and don't be afraid. And if people disagree, then that's okay. And if you have something that you are against, educate yourself and learn and talk to people who can help you, but don't just look at it black and white, I guess, is what I mean. And then some funny things for me is that, for example, when I first started YouTube, I was playing on a really, really bad laptop, and the worst part is that laptop was $1,500, but it was just so bad, and after resending it 6-7 times, I finally got my full money back. It was Lenovo. I will never get Lenovo anymore. And when I was rendering my videos, I actually, like a 20-minute video back then, especially a speed build, had to render for 7 to 9 hours on that laptop. So when I went to school, I just put on my laptop open and I let it render. And sometimes when I came home from school, it was still rendering, and I was like, dang, how do YouTubers do this? And then a little bit later, I switched to a game computer, and that game computer was a little bit faster, but I started having blue screens, and like a lot of them, and it was always something else. And then I was done with Windows. So I switched to Mac, and I've been on the same Mac for 3 years, and it's still a lot faster than all of the Windows computers that I ever had. And my videos render in like 10-15 minutes, so it's really not that much. So yeah, I'm really happy that I switched to Mac because right now I get to do things a lot faster. Also, my video editor Final Cut Pro is a lot better than what I used to use, which was Premiere Pro. It's also a one-time pay, so it's a lot cheaper for me to actually be on a Mac than it is on Windows, because on a Windows I would have to pay 60 euros, which is about $80 I think a month, just for my video editor and photo editor. Now I have a one-time pay and that's it. I pay like 330 euros, which is, I don't know, $380 or something like that once, and I've been using it for 3 years, so kind of a Mac pays for itself, I guess. And yes, it's a lot more expensive when you first buy it, but for me definitely it paid back, and I'm way happier with it than when I used Windows, because that was so trashy for me. Now anyways, I'm gonna leave it at this. Let me know if you do YouTube, what changed in yourself, or what changed in you when you started being online more in online communities and stuff like that. I definitely wanted to know. That was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe.